Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the podcast about anything, everything, and nothing, sometimes all at the same time. This is Shotgun and Shots. Cheers.
Refreshing.
Should really be sponsored by some kind of alcohol.
That's a good plan. Let's do that.
I'm one of your hosts, Jeff. Alongside me is Scott.
You doing okay over there, Jeff? We've lost Jeff.
You need some help?
To my right here is Keller.
Welcome in. Once again, this is a podcast about anything, everything, and nothing. Basically, each one of us bring in a topic, and we just chat back and forth about it.
Did you say bring-ins?
I said bring in.
Okay.
Like Funyuns.
It might be a little early for me to start slurring, but I wouldn't doubt that it happens at some point. So who wants to go first?
You go ahead.
Me? Okay.
Topic.
My topic was, the other night I was watching Netflix, and there's a show on there about the top 50 pro wrestling moves of all time.
Oh, moves.
Yes.
What do you think he said?
Movies.
That could be your topic.
I wonder if there's been 50 pro wrestling.
I don't know how you get 50 of them. But
Maybe you include all that, like the crappy backyard wrestling.
I don't think it said 50. I think it just said I want to talk about pro wrestling movies. Is what I thought it.
No, yeah, I didn't say no. All I said was moves. I didn't say
Keep working at it,
a
Keller.
number.
You'll learn how to read.
But I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I don't know that I've ever seen a pro wrestling movie. I mean, the only one I could even
sure you have.
really name is The Wrestler.
Well, that would be one.
I haven't seen it.
Oh.
But I've seen movies with pro wrestlers in them, but not pro wrestling movies.
I can't think of any pro
But
wrestling
let's talk
movies
about
I've seen
moves.
off
Let's
the
talk
top of
about
my
the
head.
moves.
Probably a lot of them are.
Besides the wrestlers?
Yeah, or what are they? The documentaries or something like that about the guys or whatever.
Let's talk about the moves, though.
Okay, so just I've got the list of the top 5. Obviously, I wasn't going to write down all 50 of them, but so before I give the top 5, just we'll do 2 things. One, what do you think is number 1? And 2, what would be your number 1 wrestling move?
See, I want to say just because of popularity, I'm going to say like the People's Elbow or something like that would be in the top 5. I don't think it's one of the best. I mean, it's a fucking elbow. But just because of popularity, I feel like it's going to be up there.
Right.
I think if one of the Rock's moves is going to be there, it would be the Rock Bottom. I think they're all going to be finishing moves.
Yeah, it was the top 50 finishing moves. I don't know if I said I probably just said moves, but yeah, the top 50 finishing moves is what I watched.
Maybe the spear, Goldberg's
spear. So what do you think is number 1, and what is your number 1?
See, that's hard for me to answer because I'm not that much of a wrestling fan.
Right.
So I don't know all the good moves.
But here's the thing. I mean, you can go all the way back to even if you watched as a kid.
Yeah.
Because all of those count. There's no right or wrong.
What about you, Scott?
Well, there's a wrong according to them, but.
Well, if I was picking my number 1, I'd probably go with like the sharpshooter. Just because so many wrestlers have used that or some variation of that, which is really just like a Boston Crab, modified Boston Crab. So many wrestlers have used that as their finishing move. That would be the one I'd pick. But I would guess maybe, knowing it's WWE, they're going to pick a finishing move for one of their top wrestlers probably.
Was this picked
so
by...
I would say maybe the pedigree, maybe.
Was this picked by WWE staff, or was it picked by fans? Or
I'm not really sure. I think it was probably more like the wrestlers and the people involved with WWE. I don't think fans had too much to do with it.
See, that kind of changes my thought. I don't think like the People's Elbow would be a number 1. Maybe it's still a top 5, but not a number 1 if it's not the fans picking.
Right. I'm not sure who picked it, but of course, like during the show, they were interviewing all the wrestlers and past wrestlers and stuff like that.
See, I want to. For me, I want to say one of those flying moves that like Rey Mysterio would do, or one of those little guys.
Would be your number 1?
That would be my number 1. Yeah.
And what did you say you thought the number one was?
I still think it's going to be a popular one. Something like Goldberg or The Rock or one of the real big heavyweight names.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I love Goldberg. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And the Jackhammer was on the list. I want to say it was like 8 or 9, somewhere in that area. I want to say he was in the top 10. And I would love to see the Jackhammer, but at the same time, if I had to pick like my very favorite wrestling move of what I think would be number one, I'd probably go with the Crippler Crossface.
Yeah.
And mainly because it's the only one like that. There isn't a duplication of it. Nobody else does any variation.
You know what?
Daniel Bryan does.
Well, yeah.
I just thought
almost identical now.
What I think is number one, figure 4.
I could go with that.
That was up there. That was top 10. Surprisingly, not top 5.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So you had the pedigree was your guess,
Yeah.
and then the sharpshooter was your pick.
Yeah.
So here's your list. Number 5 was the DDT
Yeah.
by Jake the Snake.
I can
And
see
it was
that.
one of those, it was kind of like when they showed it, I was like, man, I said, it's amazing that you have a move like that now every wrestler does. And, he was the first one to do it, and he's the one that, kind of coined it. And it was really cool to watch because they showed a lot of the old footage, when these old wrestlers were in there doing this stuff. And so it was really cool to see some of these guys in their prime, hitting these moves.
You have to give Jake Snake credit kind of for... I'm sure he probably didn't invent the move, but being the first to kind of make it popular.
Right.
But
yeah.
I still think Raven did it the best.
Oh yeah,
His
Raven
even
had
flow
awesome
DDT was
yeah.
the best DDT.
What about just throwing the snake on somebody?
That was nice. I don't know if you call that a finishing move.
Yeah,
kind of
they
after
were
the
already
finish.
done by that
was
point.
kind of post-finish move.
And even if you did the Sting's adaptation where he did the reverse DDT.
Yeah.
I mean that was pretty cool too.
Pretty neat too. All right, 4.
So number 4 was actually interesting. It was a combination of the rock bottom people's elbow.
Okay, so just the Rock in general.
Right.
Yeah. Anything The Rock did.
Yeah. And I think it's mainly because the rock bottom and the people's elbow was kind of his thing. The rock bottom, I guess, was supposed to be technically the finisher, but the people's elbow was the move that he hit right before he pinned him, or something along that line. I'm not exactly sure why he got 2. He was the only one that got a double. Number 3 was the pedigree, Triple H's move, which I thought was really cool too, because again, it's one of those that there are no variations of. You don't see anybody do anything much like his move.
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
Yeah. Number 2 was the tombstone pile driver, and that was one that was kind of like, I had to agree with that one too. That was watching it it looks like a devastating move.
That's one I'm not real familiar with. I'm guessing that's probably
Undertaker. Yeah, it's Undertaker and Kane both did it.
Okay.
Undertaker used it as his finisher. I think Kane was it might have been a signature for him. I think his finisher was the choke slam.
What's different about that than a regular pile driver?
In a regular pile driver, which was also on the list, and that was Jerry the King Lawler. I didn't realize he was the one that actually started that.
He was the one that made it famous.
Yeah, doing it to...
he kind of did that fall away pile driver.
Right.
Yeah.
The way main pile drivers are done, they kind of pick them up with them on their legs, and then they kind of sit down with the guy between the legs. But the tombstone, Undertaker actually kind of falls forward onto his knees.
Oh, okay.
I would venture a guess that the tombstone is probably a little safer than the other.
I would kind of think so, especially as tall as he is.
Yeah,
right.
When the opponent's in a reverse position on the tombstone than what they are in the regular pile driver. In the regular pile driver, you just kind of put them in like you would do a pedigree. And like you kick them in the stomach and put them in between your knees. And then you just kind of grabbed their belt buckle and just fell back.
Yeah.
I mean, the Undertaker picks him up and turns him around with their stomach facing towards his face and drops down.
Right. And of course, it's still really dangerous, and it's to the point where if you kind of notice, they really don't do pile drivers anymore.
Yeah, I thought that was actually banned. I thought they weren't allowed to do it anymore.
Maybe.
I don't.
Because I know Undertaker
anymore.
Still does the tombstone.
They ran a gimmick for a while with the Undertaker, where they had banned it because supposedly he broke someone's neck doing it. Even though I don't think that was real. But people have gotten hurt in the pile drivers before.
Andy Kaufman never broke his neck? Is that what you're saying?
That's a whole different subject.
It's still real to me, damn it. So, kind of hearing what those numbers are, anybody want to change their number one guess?
What's his name?
If it's Hogan's leg drop, I'm leaving.
No, but that was in the top
it
10.
is.
I think that was number 10.
What about I can't remember I think Hawaiian guy who stuck his butt in your face.
Rikishi? No,
Rikishi.
no, it wasn't him. But they did have a big sumo. I can't think of his name. That he did like the sumo drop or whatever, and he jumped off of like the second rope or the first rope.
I don't see how he kept from killing people. doing
Right?
that.
Even watching the
He
replays of
had
it.
to weigh about 450 pounds.
Because he would land on him and then he would sit there. Like he would literally sit on the guy's chest. And he was like 500 pounds. It was just like, man alive. I mean, that's crazy.
Mount Fuji? Is that him?
No, it was like Suki or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But
Suki now.
Honorable mention, Jimmy Superfly was on there. Which I thought was interesting because they had Jimmy Superfly, they had Eddie Guerrero, and they had Rob Van Dam, and they all do pretty much the same.
Well, it's all the frog splash.
Yeah, they all do the splash.
How about Mandible Claw?
That was on there too. Talking about Mankind.
Yeah, there was a couple people. Who was the other one that did it? There was one WCW guy that did it. Old school WCW.
That was the Giant.
Yeah.
Chokeslam. There was a really, really old, I say really, really old to me, wrestler, and I can't think of his name, but he did the one where he actually like grabbed their head.
Yeah.
That was in there. I think it was just called the Claw at that point. Mankind's was the Mandible because he actually reached inside in their mouth. But
What did Andre the Giant do?
I think his was
Lay
the
down
body
on
slam.
top of you?
I think his was the body slam, wasn't it? And I think that was his finisher. He just pick you up and slam you.
It's like a bench press or something.
Yeah, probably.
I don't even think it was that. They have the
Andre the Giant could barely move, so
yeah.
wasn't anything impressive.
I don't remember what, like a gorilla press slam or something like that. He didn't even pick him up over his head. I think he just picked him up and slammed him on the mat. Yeah. It was interesting to see some of the other guys like they called Diesel, which was Kevin Nash. And they had his
the truck stop powerbomb.
Yeah, the truck stop powerbomb.
That was a good move. He did it very well. He hit it really well.
Then they had Razor Ramon with the
liked
Scott Hall.
I liked his finishing move.
A lot of them are, it was funny to see two different names, but the one guy, they refer to it as one name instead of the other. But anyway, so number one, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Stunner.
Of course.
Yeah. Which I thought was interesting too because they had DDP was on there. I think his was like number 49. The Diamond Cutter, and then they had the RKO from Randy Orton. And
I don't really have a problem with that being number one, I guess. It's because it was a pretty unique move, and he hit it so well. And he always puts so much into it when he hit it.
He definitely sold it, and take nothing away from the guys that he hit it on either. Those
they
guys
have
had
to sell it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, but again, I may be picturing this wrong, but I feel like there's a lot more harder, more difficult to actually do moves out there that kind of deserve more.
The technical moves, yeah. I mean, they had stuff on there like Rey Mysterio 619. Like I said, the Jackhammer was on there. Edge's spear, was on there. Now it's like, why Edge's spear is on there and not Goldberg's,
Goldberg
for whatever
wasn't
reason.
on there, but really?
Because Goldberg, it wasn't his finisher. His finisher was the
to me, the most impressive, or one of the most impressive finishing moves was Billy Kidman's 450 splash. He always hit that so beautifully.
Now they did have.
Although I've always questioned the idea of exactly why does spinning around in the air make the impact any worse than just flying straight off onto
Right.
you, but it does look impressive.
Yeah. Well, he did the shooting star press too.
Yeah.
And surprisingly,
really
that
well.
wasn't on there. But they did have a 450, but it was like again, it was one of the older wrestlers that I'd never heard of before. And dude, watching the tape of him hitting it was ridiculous. I mean, I remember like Juventud Guerrero hitting it, and it just looked amazing. But watching this guy, he was probably 1.5 to almost 2 times the size of Juventud, and he's making that flip in the air and slamming on a guy. I mean, it was awesome. The only girl that made the list was Lita.
Do you remember? Do you remember when Brock Lesnar tried to do the shooting star press?
Yeah.
Damn near killed everybody in the ring, damn near, including himself.
Yeah, it was terrible. That was probably one of the worst ever. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of moves that I think should have been on there. It was ridiculous. Hogan's leg drop was on the list.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, I don't know how you could possibly put that on there. Even like the people talking about it were almost like, oh, it's such a simple move, and but he hit it better than anybody else, or blah blah or whatever it was. It was just kind of like whatever. I don't think that should have been his finisher.
My all-time favorite finisher was the Hands of Stone Ronnie Garvin, who was just a right hand punch.
Well, they did have
he'd hit him with that right hand 700 times during the match, but for some reason, right at the end, he'd hit him with it and knock him out cold.
They had Dusty Rhodes with his was it the Atomic Elbow?
Atomic Elbow, yeah.
Yeah. It was funny. A lot of the older moves were pretty ridiculous.
Well, I gotta ask, was Hulk Hogan's raising his arm in the air in there?
Raising his arm?
Just
oh, to pump up the crowd or whatever?
Yeah.
No, I mean...
I mean, that's always what got him to win.
Yeah.
I mean...
Getting out of the move. What was interesting was they had the Sergeant Slaughter's...
he did the Cobra Clutch.
The Cobra Clutch, okay.
That was a pretty cool move, too.
Right, and then, but before his, lower on the list, was... what's his name? Bob Backlund?
Bob Backlund, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
he did the crossface chicken
wing. Now, I've never seen anyone else. Well, I take that back. I think I have seen someone else within the past couple of years do it.
Mm-hmm.
But only like once, and I've never seen him do it again.
And that was pretty awesome.
But
that's
an impressive. That's a hard move to do.
And then the $1 Million Man was the $1 Million Sleeper, or I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was a sleeper hold, and it was basically the Cobra Clutch.
Yeah.
It was almost identical to it. And, of course, it was lower down on the list, too.
Piper did the sleeper.
Yeah. They called it something. It was like the $1 Million Sleeper or the $1 Million Dream, I think is what it was called. But it was the same thing as the Cobra Clutch. And but it got me to thinking about some of the other moves that you don't really hear much about. Like, what was the guy that had the challenge? Was it the Hammerlock? He did the Hammerlock challenge or something like that, where he would get the guys to sit in the chair and he would put the move in and they had to try and get out of the move.
I remember that, but I can't remember who the guy was.
And it's kind of
like... He was
like,
one of those guys that wasn't around for very long.
Yeah, and it
kind of popular for like a year maybe, and then just sort of disappeared. It
was kind of disappointing because that was a cool gimmick, kind of a neat thing to see. To actually have a guy put you in his finishing move, and it's like, hey, see if you can get out of it. They had the figure 4 in there. The sharpshooter was in there. Sting, Scorpion Deathlock, which was the sharpshooter. It was interesting. They didn't have the Texas Cloverleaf, which I thought that was a really cool move too.
Yeah, they had the Walls in there.
Yeah, Walls, Jericho were in there, and it was interesting because when he did it early, like in WCW, it was a different hold than what it is at the end of his career in WWE.
Wasn't Perry Saturn's Rings of Saturn on there somewhere too?
No, but
I could have swore it was in there somewhere.
You would think it would, because that was another move that nobody else does.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
it's
great
completely
submission
different. Yeah, completely different.
My all-time favorite finishing move was the double drop kick. The Rock and Roll Express.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, did they have tag team finishing moves?
Yeah, they had
the 3D.
They had Legion of Doom in there.
Yeah, Legion of Doom, and they had the 3D from the Dudley Boys. Which the Legion of Doom was the.
When where one of them picked him up on the shoulder, the other one clotheslined him off the top rope.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was called.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool move. And then of course, like
the Dudley Boys always hit the 3D really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was really impressive.
Yeah.
It was basically like a 2-man Stone Cold Stunner, really.
Yeah.
to a table.
Right. Well, that's when it actually kind of picked up.
Sometimes it was on fire.
Picked up its popularity, I think, was when they actually started getting the tables involved in it. But so that was pretty much what I brought to the table.
Finishing moves.
Yeah.
What about movies?
finishing movies.
Well, pro wrestling movies.
Well, yeah, you like you said, there aren't very many pro wrestling movies. You have
Well,
that
like I said,
one.
most of them's going to be documentary stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, The Wrestlers are really good. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's really good.
Yeah,
It's a very good movie.
It's one that I haven't really been avoiding. It just hasn't the opportunity hasn't presented itself.
The documentary they did about Bret Hart and Vince McMahon with the Montreal Screwjob was a really good documentary too. I want to say PBS did that, and it just so happened that they were recording a documentary about Bret Hart like the year leading up to it, and right after it when it happened, they were actually backstage and everything. It was really a fascinating look into it.
How about pro wrestler movies?
I think The Rock has the best charisma for any pro wrestler crossover into a movie. I think The Rock has handled it better than any of the others. I don't think he's always made the best decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, he's done some great stuff.
Tooth Fairy, for crying out loud.
Yeah, true. But
The Rock.
At the same time, though, in the last Fast and Furious movie, I did not like him. I mean, I don't know if it was the way he played it, if it was the character itself, the way he was directed, what it was. I just did not like his.
It's a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah,
There's not a whole lot to work with.
I think that's more what the issue was.
Well, I mean, obviously that's a huge hurdle in itself. Is just getting past the stigma of being in a Fast and Furious movie.
Well, it's irritating because, granted, none of the Fast and the Furious movies are, Oscar winners or anything like that, but I think the first one was really good. I actually really enjoyed the first one because it was mostly about the cars and the scene. You kind of had the backstory of, the cop trying to catch the bad guy and stuff like that, but they focused a lot on the cars.
They did, and I like that they were trying to be technical with it. The problem was they even had the technical advisors on set, and they still fucked it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one of those pet peeves that, if you're going to do it right.
Yeah.
Or either just don't give a shit and throw it all, just make up your own shit.
Well, then that's when you wind up with Need for Speed.
Well, yeah, true. Did you go see that?
No, but I've heard it's horrible.
I heard that too. I heard somebody basically said if you want to go see it, just turn your brain off when you walk in, and just enjoy the moving pictures.
Right.
The most impressive wrestler as an actor that I've seen is Edge. And he hasn't really done any movies, but he's been on several TV shows, and he's a regular on a TV show now, and he's a really good natural actor.
What about Chris Jericho? Has he done any actual acting?
He's been in a few things, just kind of bit part cameos, though.
I know he's doing a lot of other stuff now.
He does a lot of podcasting and stuff, too.
He's been on At Midnight.
Yeah, he was pretty good on that.
Yeah.
Now The Rock, I enjoyed when he was in the Austin Powers movie. I enjoyed that because it was just a goofy role, and I thought he did a good job of goofy. I couldn't tell you the character name, but he was.
Remember.
It wasn't very long. He was in it for a couple of minutes. I think it was the Goldmember movie.
I have no idea. I don't remember that either.
I'll tell you one, actually, now that you mentioned that, there was one movie that I thought he did really, really well on, and because he was playing a character that was so far off from The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Get Shorty. It was either Get Shorty or the sequel to it. I can't remember which one it was, but he was playing this like gay cowboy hitman character.
It was Southland Tales, I think.
No, it wasn't Southland Tales because this was a comedy that I saw. That I'm talking about.
I'm not sure what you would consider Southland Tales to be.
I would say sci-fi at least.
Such a weird movie.
Well,
I don't know what you consider it.
He played a gay guy in the Austin Powers movie too. But
it might have been Get Shorty you're talking about. But it seems I was thinking it was later than Get Shorty.
Yeah, I didn't think he was in that either. But.
No, I think he was in Get Shorty, but I was thinking that there was a different movie Keller's thinking about, but I could be wrong.
See, I think the one that he did the best in was, there's two of them. I like The Rundown, and I like Walking Tall. I think those two were, it's probably Dwayne Johnson.
Well, Walking Tall was okay, but
right there.
yeah, I thought The Rundown was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. You know, and it's kind of like what Keller was saying. It's roles that are away from The Rock. You know, he's not playing The Rock. He's playing, you know, an actual character in the movie.
Be Cool is what it was. That Be Cool is the sequel to Get Shorty.
Yeah, the one nobody watched.
Yeah, that's the one. He was he was. I mean, he did great in it. You know, he played this totally off the wall character. You know, and that's why
he was like
I liked it.
Gay country singer.
I've never seen the movies.
It's okay. The first one, when Get Shorty, was a lot better, but this one's okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. But and it's funny because, like I said, he played a gay guy in Austin Powers too. It was only like a real quick little clip. Now, I haven't seen any of like John Cena's movies.
I haven't seen any of those either.
I know Stone Cold has been in a couple, but
Orton's been in one or two. All these WWE made movies.
Right.
Those John Cena movies just they look horrible.
Oh, they are.
I mean, I don't.
If they're made by WWE, they're horrible.
Speaking of that, is the Oculus made by WWE? Somebody mentioned that somewhere.
I think so. I believe they were part of it. I believe they were producers.
I just didn't understand why, because I didn't think it had anything to do with wrestling or wrestlers.
No, it doesn't, but their entertainment department does movies that doesn't have anything to do with the wrestlers.
See, I didn't realize
Some of their movies they do that's outside of their wrestling when they're not trying to show their wrestlers in are actually really good.
Yeah, see, I didn't realize that they did step out away from their talent.
Yeah, they do. They've done a lot. They do a lot of movies that have nothing to do with their wrestling. I've heard Oculus was supposed to be pretty good.
What is that one? I remember
horror
seeing
movie about an evil mirror.
Evil Mirror.
Basically what it is.
Didn't they make one like that called The Mirror?
I'm sure they probably have.
One woman tries to exonerate her brother who was convicted of murder by proving that the crime was committed by a mirror.
By an evil mirror. Told you.
Good luck with that one.
By a supernatural phenomenon, which I'm guessing is a mirror.
I heard it's supposed to be really good.
Be interesting, I guess. I won't watch it. I'm just not it's funny, the older I get, I guess the more selective I become, and it's just one of those things where it's like I just don't feel like wasting my time with a horror movie. I've never been a horror movie fan, so
See,
I love horror movies.
I've never been a horror movie fan either, and what killed it for me was Friday the 13th. I don't remember where I was exactly, but I walked in, the movie was already playing, and Jason goes to this campground, and this girl climbs into her sleeping bag down at the very bottom of it. Well, he picks the sleeping bag up, swings it over his head, and slams it against a tree. And I'm laughing. I think this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And that just killed horror movies for me.
yeah. Well, I think when you get into those kind of movies, it almost is a comical, you know.
I mean, I like thrillers, and I like, stuff that'll scare you, but I don't like the slasher type movies.
Yeah. See, like I just never enjoyed them. I think I've seen 2 or 3 of the slasher type like that. I think I've seen like one of the Nightmares. I've seen one of the Friday the 13th, and I saw a Halloween or something of version of whatever, and just never really got into it. I think if you want to classify Aliens as a horror movie, I think that, or Alien, I think that was a really good movie.
I could go a couple ways, but yeah, I mean, Poltergeist was one of my first ones that I liked.
Yeah.
As far as horror goes, which it could almost be considered a thriller instead of a horror because nobody really dies.
Now, what would you call?
No, it's a horror movie. Poltergeist is a pretty classic horror movie too.
I can't think of the name of it, but the one with red rum and all that.
Oh, I'll see now.
You're right. That's the way it works.
Just because you said something.
Yep.
Jack Nicholas.
Nicholas?
Jack Nicholson.
The golfer?
Yeah. Jack Nicholson.
That's a different movie. That's not the one I'm thinking of.
And I think you're thinking of The Shining. And
Yeah.
That's not the one with red rum.
You sure?
Yeah,
I'm positive. No, it's not. It's not the one with red rum.
It's got the 2 girls, and Jack Nicholson is...
Yeah, all that's right, but it doesn't have anything to do with red rum. Red rum is a completely different movie.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember what that name. I'm trying to think what the name of it is, but
It's The Shining. It's right there.
Yeah, that's one that I've never seen, but I think I would like to see. Mainly because I guess it's supposed to be one of the best, movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. I have seen probably the whole movie, but just
The Shining's a very slow moving story. It's a really good movie, but it's very slow. It drags a lot, and by the time it gets about midway through to the end, it picks up and pretty good action. But yeah, the very beginning of it is real. It takes a long time to really get into the story of it itself.
Maybe that's why I don't like horror movies. They all seem to follow that kind of a pattern where, the first half of the movie is just a bunch of crap that nobody really cares about, and then finally halfway through, the killer snaps and just starts, taking everybody down left and right. I did see Scream, and I liked Scream. It wasn't a bad movie.
See, it wasn't bad, but I have issues with movies that try to do pop culture stuff. That's all the Twilight movies and stuff. I like vampire stuff. I don't want to see the whole pop culture bullshit stuff. That just turns me off.
Yeah, the Twilight movies are horrible. I honestly do not understand why people like them.
I agree. I mean, they're more teenage romance movies. They're not really sci-fi vampire movies.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I don't like about it. Is it's a teenage pop culture romance bullshit movie, and then they just throw in a vampire.
Yeah, I mean, more power to the lady that wrote it for coming up with a completely off the wall way to explain vampires and all that stuff like that. I mean, fantastic for thinking outside the box. But in a world where people kind of have a preconceived notion of what vampires are, like, you went way outside the box, and I think a lot of people just couldn't follow that. Now you get some of these people who read the books, and and I guess they fell in love with the book, and stuff like that.
Well, and that's what they do. Like this whole what was this this latest movie that came out, Divergence. That's a whole book series for a teenage girl book series. Just like the Hunger Games. That's just pretty much what they're doing now. They saw how Twilight did and how Harry Potter did. And
right.
So let's make some money.
Well, here's the weird part, though. Like the Hunger Games, I actually enjoy.
Oh, I enjoy.
I think Hunger Games is really good.
I do. The second one, I didn't like the ending because it was too much of a cliffhanger.
No, I haven't seen the second one.
The second one's really good, except for, like I said, the end is just. I mean, it's just it's a huge cliffhanger, and the movie itself could not stand on its own because of the cliffhanger.
Right. Now, how many movies have you seen that are like that, though? If you watch, like, even the Lord of the Rings movies, like the number 2 movie is really hard for me to watch. It almost feels like it's just a filler between 1 and 3.
See, I've never watched the Lord of the Rings. That's a genre that I don't really care for. I mean, I'm sure the movies are great, but I don't like the whole fantasy troll kind of genre.
It's like me with zombies.
The Hobbit, and all that kind of stuff. What was the original one? The Hobbit back in the 80s. What was that one?
Well, they made a Hobbit movie back in the 80s.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I saw that one. I didn't really care for it. That's just I mean, you don't like zombies. I don't like that stuff. I mean, I kind of like zombies, but just personal preference.
I don't know if there's anything I just don't like that. It's how it's done.
Well, I mean,
I'll watch anything if it's well made.
How it's done, obviously, is a huge factor, but that's what's gonna pull me to it. I'm not saying I'll never watch the Lord of the Rings, but because it's done well, and I know it's done well, then that means I probably will watch it at some point. But I'm not rushing out there to watch it either.
Yeah, the first one I thought was really good. The way that the movie flowed, the way that it told the story and everything like that, I really enjoyed. The third one was like, okay, now we need to finish off the story, and the second one was more like a filler. Now, not saying that every movie wasn't really good, individually, but I guess, I don't know, it's just one of those things that it's almost even like the 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars. A lot of people don't feel the way I do. I like number 1. I thought Episode 1 was a really good movie. 2 felt like all it was there to explain what happened between 1 and 3. Like, it's not. There's no.
What else would it be there?
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. But I mean, like, if you kind of like what you're saying, if you just watch 2 all by itself, it wouldn't make any sense. It's
right.
It was just there to fill in a gap, and that was all it was for. you watch 4, 5, and 6, and it's like you could watch each one of those movies individually.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I mean that's the only thing about this second Hunger Games I didn't like is at the end of it. I mean, you have to watch the next one.
Right.
I mean, you could probably get away with watching just the next two, the second and the third, and be okay with it.
Right.
But you're just left with such a cliffhanger. You don't know what's going to. You have to watch the next one just to see the story. I mean, it's all right. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Like, of course, I guess the thing is always that things come in threes, but it's interesting to see a lot of movies now that are almost written as trilogies. And then see movies that tried to make trilogies. Like you look at The Matrix. Like the original Matrix was amazing. Everybody loved it.
Yeah.
And then it almost seemed like they just kind of were like, okay, we'll make a couple more, and it was almost more like they were pressured into making 2 and 3 rather than.
I feel that way about
the Matrix was already written. They already had the 3 movies written when they made the first one.
Yeah.
They just had no idea if they'd ever get to make the other 2.
I feel that way about the Pirates of the Caribbean. After the second one, I feel like it was goofy, and they just tried to make it as wild as possible.
They're all goofy.
Well, I mean, they were all goofy, but
never a really big fan of those movies. But they did that too, more than most movies do. Was it the second or third movie? Just huge cliffhanger.
Yeah.
They might as well just put up to be continued at the end of it.
Yeah.
They did do that in Back to the Future. Remember that?
They did do that, yeah.
Actually, they did not do that in Back to the Future. They did it on the video release, but they were in the theater. It was not on there, and they had no plans of doing a sequel until the success.
Right.
And so once they put it on video, then they put the to be continued on there.
I really don't have a problem with the kind of cliffhanger endings if you know there's going to be another movie. I mean, it pissed me off if you did a cliffhanger ending to a movie and then there was never a resolution to it.
Well,
I really don't understand. But I really don't understand what upsets you about it. I mean, cause if you don't, if you like it, you're going to go see it anyway. Whether they put a cliffhanger at the end of the second movie or not, you're going to go see the third one. If you hate it, you're going to go. You're not going to go see it. Even the cliffhanger is not going to force you to go see something that you don't like.
I just feel like there should have been some sort of resolution before they end the movie. I mean, it's literally all right. Everybody's over here. Let's go, and then the credits. That's the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. I guess if you had some OCD thing, you'd probably go see a movie even if you didn't like it.
Well, that's more your problem than theirs.
Poor Sheldon out there has to go see every movie because it ends on a cliffhanger like that. Yeah.
Now I'm sure there are some movies that have ended on somewhat of a cliffhanger where they had intended to do a sequel, but the movie was so terrible that they couldn't get any funding to do it.
Happens a lot more on TV shows.
Yeah, true. But I was just trying. I feel like there was something, and I can't remember what it was.
There was actually a Fantastic Four movie that was made.
Well, I know
long time ago.
I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about, but I know of a Fantastic Four movie that was made just to keep the rights.
Yes. And
they actually made a documentary about it.
Yeah.
And how terrible it was.
Yeah.
Was that on At Midnight they showed that? Making fun of it.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I've seen it referenced in a couple different places. And I think Chris Hardwick was one of the references.
Actually, we might have been talking about it last time. That's where I remember hearing about it from.
Maybe.
I don't remember, but yeah, it's funny when they do stuff like that just solely for the reason to keep it alive, I guess you will.
Yeah. And
even on that note, the Fantastic Four movies were not very good. No. I did not enjoy either one of them.
Yeah, actually that one was. They did do a sequel to the first.
Yeah, they made the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
And to me, the first one was better than the second one.
They were both pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the first one was amazing or anything, but it was, I think, better than the second one. Now,
speaking of sequels and spin-offs and stuff, I'm surprised Marvel hasn't made another Hulk movie.
Yeah,
especially
actually, I think-
especially after how
I feel like that
how
they-
well received Mark Ruffalo was as the Hulk
I
in
feel
the
like that
Avengers.
they're working on one. Though.
You feel like they are?
I feel like I saw something recently that they were working.
There's something
on.
down the pit of your stomach.
It's a sixth sense that I have, but I want to say, I want to say that
That's a crappy sixth sense to have, Killer.
It's like if you could pick a useless superpower.
The ability to sense if Marvel's going to make a movie about one of their superheroes is my superpower.
It's not going to be, true or anything. Like it could be.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling
it could be.
that it could happen.
all right, y'all
You can almost possibly take that to the bank.
y'all are gonna make me look this shit up. I want to say that there was I saw something somewhere that said that they were gonna make what was the last one? The Incredible Hulk.
I think so.
The first one
Well, yeah, might want to use your
was
microphone voice.
Was the first one the Hulk? Called the Hulk? That was the one that had.
A sequel with Mark Ruffalo, a sequel to The Incredible Hulk has been in development since the film's release in 2008. So that doesn't really give it a whole lot of credit there.
Yeah, I like the Incredible Hulk was the one with Norton, right?
No, The Incredible Hulk was with, well... maybe,
Yeah, I think the Incredible Hulk was the one with Norton. The
So
Hulk was the
Ruffalo's-
first one with
Ruffalo's-
somebody else. I don't know
Ruffalo
who
has
it
only
is.
done it in the Avengers.
Yeah, he's
right?
only
Right.
done it in the Avengers.
Okay. So actually this is saying right now that there is not anything in development. Although he didn't rule out the possibility that a sequel might be developed in the future. So
That's one of those things where they basically just wrote it down so that he couldn't go do any other Hulk movie, or nobody else could do another Hulk movie or something like that.
Well, they already own all the rights to the Hulk.
Yeah.
No one else could do it without their permission.
That's just like safe talk. That's not even. I don't think they're trying to start anything or do anything with it, which is a shame. The Hulk is one of my favorite Marvel superheroes. Now, as far as the movies are concerned, I think the one with Norton was really good. The one before that, I'm not going to say it was terrible. I think the director, I know what the director was trying to do. He was trying to be like the TV show. And I think he was trying to invoke that kind of nostalgia. And it just didn't, it didn't catch on. The people who probably watched that TV show didn't really care that much about seeing the movie. And you weren't going to capture any new audience with it. And then I think that's why they just completely redid it with Norton. And when they redid it with Norton, it was like, okay, let's just make a movie, instead of trying to make a long TV show or a long TV episode.
all right, are we gonna take a shot here?
Well, they are poured.
I figured that might be a clue.
Topic change.
All right, well
let's take a shot.
All right. And what's your topic?
Oh, have either of you been watching the new Cosmo series?
Yes, I love it.
I just find that whole show just completely fascinating.
Oh, I do too.
Even though I probably only understand about half of what he's talking about.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of my new heroes. I've liked him for probably 2 or 3 years now.
I had this feeling that he might have been one of Keller's heroes. This feeling
Is that
about
your
it.
superhero?
Yeah.
Or your superpower?
Superpower
Your useless superpower?
I have feelings about who Keller's new heroes. Not his old ones. The old ones I got no clue about.
I thought it would just
Dave-
be like feelings about what Keller thinks.
Dave Grohl is one of my older superhero, or not superheroes, but a hero.
Well, he wanted to
You
be a
don't know.
hero.
I mean, he might be a superhero.
He could be. I mean, I wouldn't put that past him. But yeah, I love Cosmos. It's a great show.
Do you
Yeah,
know
me
who
too.
Dave
It's-
Grohl's hero is? I mean, he's seen him, according to him anyway. He was like, there he goes. Okay. Back on the track.
See, I was going to say, shit.
That's probably not it.
Probably not what you was going to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when
That's
you get
all.
older. You will notice this will happen a lot on this show. The three of us do not have the greatest of memories.
And it's especially bad with names for me. And it's a name that I know, and I think I even said it probably sometime, at least yesterday. I know I said it. The fucking front man for Nirvana. God damn it.
I'm not helping you with that one. If you can't come up with that, you're on your own.
We're just gonna leave him hanging
Sorry.
on.
Sorry.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
Well, y'all talk while because this is gonna kill me.
I don't remember what the topic even was.
The Cosmos.
The Cosmos
Oh,
series,
Cosmos.
yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't watched it?
No. I want to say I flipped it on one night, and it was either the very beginning of it or the very end of it. So I only caught like a minute or three of it, and not enough to draw any type of conclusion or anything from it. But from what I've heard,
Cobain. Thank you. God damn
What
it.
do you want, a cookie
Come
because you
on.
looked it up on the internet? Do you want a cookie?
I'm sorry, but sorry. I don't know why I couldn't think of it.
the best part is that we weren't going to
I
tell
couldn't
you.
help. I couldn't help you with that. If you couldn't come up with that name, you were just on your own. It's too bad. So anyway, yeah, that's Cosmos show, and I find it fascinating. And there's a lot of it I've already knew, or heard before, studied. But there's parts of it that I guess I just want to say that it gets them too large of a scale for me to really be able to wrap my mind completely around sometimes.
Well, I think that's what the astrophysics is in a whole. It, to me, is just so outrageous that it's, I mean, outrageously big. It's hard to understand. I mean, when you look at these things and you look at, this is, you see how big the Earth is now, and then he's telling you, no, it's this little tiny pinprick. My mind can't wrap itself around that. I mean, that's.
I think my favorite part of the show is watching the Christian fundamentalists lose their shit over it,
Well,
and
yeah.
the fact that they were ballsy enough, not to cow down to it. They, they're just saying what they believe to be the truth, and what I believe is the truth, and
Well,
not backing down or being afraid of what the fundamentalists are going to say, or
Whose toes are going to step on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe Neil deGrasse Tyson is actually one of the type of people who won't say he's an atheist. Basically, he says his point of view is he doesn't know whether there's a God or not. He doesn't have any proof for, doesn't have any proof against, so therefore he's more of agnostic. Now, in that sense, though, he does believe that the Big Bang happened, that evolution happened, and stuff like that. He's saying stuff in the Bible isn't necessarily true, but he's not saying just because of that there is no God. But I agree with you. With Seth MacFarlane and him and all the people that are involved with it, they're not going to bow down to those Christian fundamentalists, and they're just going to say, you know what, y'all have your beliefs, we'll have ours, and.
Well, yeah, that's all fine and well, but they don't get the final say because they're not the people that's putting it on the air, or the advertisers that are backing it.
Well,
they can make what they want to make, but it's still up to the network to be able to put it on the air and show it to people.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say they kind of have the final say in that they're saying, either put this on there or don't put it on at all. But then the network can say, well, we're not going to put it on at all.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate final say.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like what you're saying. It's nice to see that somebody's not bowing down to, because they're afraid they're going to hurt somebody's feelings.
Right.
I think that's something that happens way too much in the world today. Is that everybody's so worried about upsetting this group or pissing off that guy or whatever it is. And on top of that, you've got all these people out there that are whining and moaning because you said something that pissed them off or upset them or whatever.
My biggest problem about that kind of stuff is, these Christian fundamentalists, they have their TV shows. Every Sunday morning, you have every network plus probably some basic cable channels have their Christian shows on. So why not let everybody else have their show? Hell,
oh yeah,
let a Muslim church or mosque, show their service on TV. I don't care.
Well, I think the thing that irritates me about it is like I was saying with the whole, it just you're going to piss somebody off. I mean, you walk out your
No
front
matter
door
what
the
you
wrong
do,
way,
yeah.
and somebody's going to be upset. I mean, you hear now, like, I say now, but it's been happening for a while, like the little leagues and like Pop Warners and stuff like that, where they don't even keep score, and they
Yeah.
don't say that there's a winner or a loser. And it's kind of like, I'm sorry, but that's something you need to teach these kids.
Yeah,
Is that
I mean, in life there's winners and there's losers.
Yeah.
I mean, every day.
yeah, you're gonna lose. That happens, And going back home and saying like, "Oh, it's okay, you're still a winner" and stuff like that doesn't give them any reason to improve and become better. To me, I'm more of a realist on it, and that you should sit there and say, yeah, you lost the game, which means you need to go practice harder. You need to, work harder and get better so that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and one of the reasons they do that is because they want every child to have an opportunity to play, and they think if they keep scoring, score matters, and all that kind of stuff, the less talented kids are not gonna get to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, that might happen. I mean,
yeah,
I know my ex-girlfriend's, when her son was playing football, they didn't count the first quarter. First quarter score never counted. So you basically put all your bad players in, let whatever happened happen, and then put your good players in after that, and then start the game.
Right.
Play 3 quarters.
Okay, I know a great deal of the show Cosmos is about Pop Warner and Little Leagues, but I'd like to talk about some of the other areas that it covers if we could, instead of...
well,
did you
okay.
see this last episode where they talked about the...
I haven't seen the latest one yet.
The latest one, they talk about dark stars and black holes and like the event horizons, and
Right.
he starts talking about how when you get an object that's that, is that dense and has that much mass and creates such a huge gravity field that even light itself can't escape from it.
Right.
That as you get closer and closer to the point of that event horizon, that the laws of time and space begin to warp.
Right.
And that there's people that believe, of course they have no idea what's inside a black hole, but there's people that theorize, that believe that it's possible that inside a black hole could be a whole nother universe. And that in that universe there'd be black holes, and inside those black holes would be other universes, and on and so on.
My head's gonna explode.
And that could be where our universe came from. We could just be a universe inside a black hole,
right,
that exists in a different universe.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting back to. Where when realizing that we're just this little pinprick in this vast galaxy. Who knows how big that galaxy really is? And you can, when you start backing up, you back up, you see the Earth, and you see the moon, the Earth, see the sun, all the other planets, and you keep going. And yeah, eventually there might be a black hole that everything's inside. Or back up even more, and there's, I don't know, a super galaxy of some sort. I mean, who knows what it is, and it is mind blowing.
Well, I think Men in Black showed it when we were on the collar of a animal that was locked in a locker in a gym or in a bus terminal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something like that. I mean, everybody said, I think maybe on, I want to say Dazed and Confused or some stoner movie. I feel like they were talking about like, we might just be on the fingernail of somebody in a whole another universe.
Mm-hmm.
Another of the things he talked about in this last episode I found really interesting was that like our neighboring solar system, which I think is called androgynous.
Yeah, actually, I think that was the one
that's
before
right.
this.
No,
Androgynous.
It was this one. They talked about. He talked about that in like a billion years, I think, around a billion years, that our two solar systems will merge and cross each other's paths.
At the very end of not this past one, but the previous.
You could be right, because I watched the last 2 episodes back to back.
I haven't seen the latest one, but the one before that I saw, and they were talking about that and showed them kind of mixed, and it was really fucking cool.
Yeah. Especially how they said they believe it's because there's so much space between stars and planets and everything that they don't think anything will collide in it. It'll just pass through each other.
Nobody will ever notice.
And just no, they said they would notice because they said they put on it'll be an amazing light show, and it'll last for about a billion years.
But as far as
there'll be nothing, no life will be harmed or anything, but they don't believe.
Well, that's one of the things that just amazes me too is, when you talk about the grand scheme of things and where we are and how small we are and or big and whatever, but you have all these things that are in this space, our universe, that are all moving around, and it's just amazing that like we don't get just bombarded on a daily basis, with things that are coming at us.
Well, I think
now I know a lot of it
kinda
is because we have the
Yeah.
magnetic field and
Well, it's a big fucking sky, Jeff.
right.
Right.
It's but when they talk about like the sheer number of things that are just moving around in the universe, and it's like, how do we not get pelted?
Well, I mean, we kind of do. There was a video just recently that I saw of a guy skydiving. Now, I don't know on this particular video what I think about the way it was presented, but this guy's skydiving. He opens up his parachute, while he's jerking around while the parachute's open, and his camera picks up this meteorite fly right past him. He never saw it, so it wasn't very big, and they seem to think that if it hit him, it would take his head off. I don't think it would have.
I don't know how fast is that moving when it comes in.
See, I don't know.
It's got to be. Meteorite's got to be moving at a terminal velocity.
Yeah, I mean, but when he's 2,000 feet from the ground, that terminal velocity is slowed probably so much that and with him at his terminal velocity, it may not. Well, he wasn't actually at that point, but it may not kill him. But it could. I don't know. I have no clue what would happen there if it did hit him.
Well, he couldn't have been traveling at terminal velocity.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because they would have been going the same speed if they were both traveling terminal velocity.
Well, they might have different terminal velocities.
No, there's only one terminal velocity.
No,
That's the whole point. That terminal velocity, like a feather and a bowling ball, fall at the same speed. It just takes a hell of a lot longer for a feather to reach terminal velocity than a bowling ball.
well,
But there's a certain point, every object,
anyway,
it's as fast as it can possibly go, and it's always the same speed.
As far as this rock goes, you see this rock fly past his camera, and I mean it looks like it's only like maybe that big, maybe, and I mean things are falling.
Yeah.
You just don't see them.
Well, the overwhelming majority of anything that would hit Earth burns up in the atmosphere and never reaches.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That was the thing.
Objects that are big enough to get through, there's so much of it's burned up or it bust into tiny little pieces that never end up. And it's a big planet too.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we talk about overpopulation, there's still huge areas of the planet that's not highly dense populations, and 2/3 is water.
Yeah.
Which that then brings up the whole thing of like, is this stuff that's known that we're just kind of, kept in the dark about?
Well, I don't think we're really kept in the dark about it. I mean, we know that there's meteorites falling into the atmosphere all the time. You can see them at night. You can see every once in a while you'll see a shooting star, and that's what that is.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's something that they're hiding from us. I mean, it's something that happens. Sometimes it's big. That big one in Russia that fell a little over a year ago now. Sometimes, most of the time, they don't even make it to the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as out beyond that, maybe there's asteroids out there that or meteors that they aren't telling us about.
Right.
Well,
wasn't there one just recently that
there was one that
created a scare?
Well, there was one that passed by. I think it was the closest that we've had, and I'm not sure if it's actually passed by or not yet. But I know there was one. There was one that I remember one that was supposed to pass between the Earth and the Moon, and that was supposed to be like one of the closest ones that we've ever had, as far as with significant size, since the one that killed all the dinosaurs.
So on this show, do they talk about like a possible future, or do they mainly focus on like where we came from and what's going on?
They haven't really done a lot about the future. They've done some, but they haven't really done a lot about the future. Mainly it's about the past and present. It's mainly been about the past so far.
I have a feeling it will make its way to the future later in the series.
That's something that I'd be interested in is, are there plans, set up for, a a Star Trek or a Star Wars type universe where we're, navigating through the stars and moving to different planets and stuff like that.
Well, if you listen to them talk, well, if you obey any of the natural laws that we've come up with, there's never going to be like a Star Trek type of space travel, because there's no such thing as faster than light. You can't travel faster than light.
Right.
So there'll never be that kind of warp engines that can cover that kind of distance. We'd never be able to travel very far.
Yeah, I mean, I think traveling within our own solar system is probably the best we can really hope for at the time. Now, going to Mars is probably the most we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah.
Traveling within the solar system would probably be the next 1,000 years. And I mean, like you said, the Star Trek, Star Wars, hyperspace, and warp speed and stuff like that, it's just not really feasible right now. I mean, there's got to be some sort of alien technology to do it.
Right.
Speaking of Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's got a podcast out that you might enjoy called Star Talk. Something you might want to look up when you run out.
Is that follow the Cosmos thing, or
no? It's his separate. I think it's actually a radio show that he does that he just puts on. They put out on his podcast as well. But they talk about all kinds of different subjects. The last one I heard was they had a lady on talking about possibility of zombie outbreaks and stuff like that, and so this was her second time back, and they had people asking questions about viruses and outbreaks and stuff like that. Asking basically, is a zombie outbreak any kind of possibility, or what kind of outbreak is possible? And it was really interesting. I mean, you've got Neil, who's got somewhat of a personality himself. Then you've got this expert, this virus expert, and then some other guy who kind of co-hosts it, and he's more of the comedian type. But I liked it. I like it a lot.
I
like it a lot.
To say like a zombie outbreak is a hard thing to say. As far as like some sort of a contagion outbreak or something like that. I think that's very possible.
Well,
I mean, you've got people out there splitting genes and
there's
viruses and all that.
There's
stuff.
outbreaks all the time. I mean, you hear about these influenza outbreaks, H1N1, the H7N9 in China, and there was another one that they discussed on that particular show. I mean, outbreaks happen.
But most of that stuff, though, is a killer. It's not something that turns these people into.
Well, absolutely. I mean, obviously, a zombie outbreak. They discussed the closest thing to a zombie. I don't know if you heard about this. A couple of years ago, they found this fungus that would take over ants, and kind of the fungus would make the ant do stuff to feed the fungus. So they kind of called it zombie ants because the fungus controlled the ant. And they said, it's not impossible that a fungus like that or something like that could grow to do something like that to humans or something like that. But the fact that the possibility of it being an outbreak and taking over, the whole a country or anything or world, much less, is very unlikely.
Right.
Yeah, they would be able to stop it.
Okay, let's move on to the final topic of the night.
Hope he's got one.
I hope so too. Let's see. I don't really have one, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this for Scott.
I have a feeling that he'll come up with something.
I'm gonna do this one for Scott because I know how you love these hypotheticals that involve the afterlife.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is your hell? If you were sentenced to hell, for whatever reason, what would be the worst for you? Living in a family full of fundamentalist Christians? Your cats? A world of cats?
That'd be pretty bad. World Cats wouldn't be good. Unless it's Thundercats.
Thundercats. Okay.
Oh. Or were there 3? Maybe I should have thrown another Thundercats in there before I said it. I don't remember how many of them he said before he said it.
I think you probably should have said it one more time.
I'll go. Give you a second to
for
think
it.
about it. This one kind of goes along. I think our earlier discussion may have been in private time or on episode 1 about the worst movie to live in, and mine would definitely be zombies. Like I don't think I could handle
Zombies would be
constantly
pretty bad.
running for my life, or being chased, or in the fear of being caught or torn apart, or basically living in constant fear. I think that would be terrible. I don't know I could handle that.
Zombies would be pretty bad. That'd be a pretty bad hell.
Maybe living in a reality where Sarah Palin was president.
That would
That'd
be
be
pretty bad.
that'd be a pretty bad hell.
Yeah, that would be a pretty awful.
So we dodged that bullet.
Where there was absolutely nothing on the radio except for country western music.
and maybe a little bit of rap here and there.
Maverick.
And the
You
only
remember that was it was a Saturday Night Live skit where she was talking about for the
Oh.
guys doing the drinking game.
Sarah Palin, yeah. John McCain's Maverick. See, I don't know. That would be really hard for me. Maybe a world of ex-girlfriends. Everybody else is an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird because
be a pretty sparse world.
yeah,
Pretty smart.
That-
Really probably wouldn't be all that hard to avoid them.
we have the old Earth.
Yeah, have the entire Earth to avoid those.
Well, no. I mean, Jeff would be an ex-girlfriend.
Of course, maybe that would.
It's just-
Maybe that's the hell part of it, is that like you just can't get away. Like everywhere you go, there's one of them at least. That's one of the things I guess you'd have to keep in mind is if it's hell, it's one of those things where you really can't control getting away. That like there is no getting away. There is no safe place to be or whatever. It's just a constant hell. Now, I think a cool hell would be Robot Hell off of Futurama. Because to me, the Robot Devil is he's hilarious. He cracks me up.
What about South Park Hell?
I hadn't seen South Park Hell.
You haven't seen South Park Hell. What do you mean? Saddam Hussein and the devil?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I have seen that.
Any more hells?
Yeah, I guess maybe like a eternity of having to sit inside a church and listen to a preacher preach. That'd be pretty hellish to me.
It's almost like
Or an eternity or a world where the only TV show was Full House. That'd be pretty nasty. That'd be pretty horrible.
Is Rebecca in it?
Yeah. My superpower is kicking in, and I'm thinking that Scott's not taking this topic too seriously.
I don't know if you can take this topic too seriously. Let's see what they got on here.
I don't know if that's my superpower or not. I can tell when Scott's not taking things seriously.
I don't know. Realizing there is one after all hell.
Did you guys ever
Balls.
see the one about the where the guy was wrote a paper about if hell was exothermic or endothermic?
Yeah, I did see that.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he made some really good points. When you're talking about like with the cosmos, where you have that you have to wrap your mind, you have to be able to wrap your mind around the fact that there are these infinite number of universes and solar systems and stuff like that. This guy kind of brought up the same kind of thing, and it's one of those. None of us are extremely religious in any form or fashion, so
That's putting it mildly. That's putting it mildly.
we kind of have the ability to look at each religion separately, where you have these people that
Is that our superpower?
could be it's the group superpower. where you have the people who are devout, you know.
Look, I don't discriminate. I think all religious beliefs are equally ridiculous.
Yeah, to me, it's people can believe whatever they want to believe. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you you're right. You know, if that's what gets you through the day, then more power to you. When it irritates me is when it becomes more of you're telling me that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see where you have the right to tell me that what I believe or don't believe is wrong. Especially when, like I said, with that paper, the guy made the comment about how if you've got more than one religion in the world, and each of those religions believe that if you don't believe in their religion, then you're going to hell.
Which means everybody's going to hell.
Right, then everybody goes to hell. So it's kind of like, how can you? To me, it's one of those things like I don't understand how and I'm not trying to put all Christians into this group or anything like that. I'm just merely using them as for instance,
right.
That you could have a Christian that could sit there and say that, you know, a Muslim is going to hell because he doesn't believe in the same God, when the Muslim, it could be the same God. It's just the way that he believes in it.
It's just his
know?
name is Allah. His name is God. It's the same person.
Right. Why can't it be the same guy? Why can't it be the same God for all of them? You know, China has their own version. You know, and
you're Jeff here. You go down to Mexico. You're Hefe.
Right. You know, yeah. I can believe in whatever it is, no matter where I am. You know, to me, that's where you get into the closed-mindedness of it, and at that point, it's more like.
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree, and I actually thought about this earlier today. I was listening to Chris Harwood talk to Chris Kluwe. Is that his name? The punter from the Minnesota Vikings. That.
Sure.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
He basically got fired from his job, he says, because he spoke out against for gay marriage. And I was sitting here thinking, you know, I was playing it kind of loud on my radio while I was driving around, and I pulled up at this house where this old guy was sitting out on his porch, and I'm like, I need to turn this down because this old guy probably doesn't agree with what they're saying. And then I started to think about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. This old guy, you know, the old redneck guy living in this house, probably sitting there with a bunch of guns in his house.
This old man?
This old man.
He played one.
But
was he at this old house?
He was at this old house. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, it got me thinking about people care about what gay people do in their bedrooms, apparently. But if I went over there and I asked that guy, how many guns do you own? Are you a gun owner? How many guns do you own? What do you do with those guns? Where are they stored? He's not going to want to tell me a damn thing. Fucking dog farted.
Yeah.
He's not going to want to tell me. It's none of his business or none of my business. But why is it his business?
I figured out what my hell is.
Why is it his business what gay people do in their bedrooms?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
What the hell's he at? Somebody pushing him out the door. Yeah. So anyway. So why is it his business what somebody's doing in their bedroom if it's nobody else's business what he's doing in his house?
Well, people don't think that way.
Obviously not.
People's psychological belief is that it ain't none of your fucking business what I want to do, but it sure as hell is my business what you do.
Yeah.
I just don't quite understand it.
And it's not enough that they want you to believe what they believe. They want the goddamn government to pass fucking laws to force you to believe what they believe.
Exactly.
But they also want them to pass laws so that they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same thing, but okay.
Well, I mean, you have to believe what I believe, but I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. You know, you're forced to believe. You're forced to do what I want to do, but I can do whatever I want.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
Okay.
Well, it's the same. That's what he just said, but
it's not the same thing. He said it was the same thing.
Caesar, just to agree with him, Jack.
Caesar, just okay. Okay. Buddy Christ.
All right, on that note, are we done?
Yeah, I think we've been done. I think we were done before we ever asked Keller to come up with a topic.
So hopefully episode 3 will be
It's been a shitty week. I'm sorry.
a little more entertaining. Hopefully this was entertaining.
At least some.
Minus Keller. We might just edit him completely out.
Well, we can't. He's the one doing the editing.
I might edit you out.
We'll pass a law that makes him edit himself out.
There we
I have
go.
this feeling that he's probably going to go ahead and edit himself out of this.
I might just do that.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. This has been episode 2 of Shotgun and Shots. If you have any topics that you would like to see us discuss, or if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, feel free to comment in the comment section, or you can send us an email at shotgunanshots@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Jeff.
I'm not.
I'm Keller.
You guys have a good one.